CBRL, or Council for British Research in the Levant, exists to support and conduct and facilitate excellent research across the Levant in the humanities, social sciences, and related disciplines. And I would like to draw your attention to the fact that over the coming months, we have an incredibly busy programme of events, most of which you can join online. We've also just started announcing our calls for grant applications. We've launched our project grants this week. We're about to launch workshop grants. There'll be a few other grants coming up. So if you haven't already done so, I highly recommend that you subscribe to our newsletter, our monthly newsletter, because then you'll hear all about the opportunities and really start to become part of our CBRL community. Now, we are delighted to be partnering with the Cyprus Institute, which is a regional centre for excellence with a strong scientific and technological focus to host this new Cyprus lecture series. And both last week and over the coming months, you'll hear from some of the Cyprus Institute's foremost researchers presenting research in Cyprus on a whole diversity of subjects, which really illustrates the fantastic and multidisciplinary approaches of the Cyprus Institute. So last week we were looking at indigenous cattle breeds. Our next lecture will look at 1,500 years of glass production in the Levant. We're also moving to talk about culinary heritage. So it's a great series, and we're honoured to be partnering with the Cyprus Institute on this. So today I have the honour of introducing Dr. Georgios Artopoulos. Apologies already for saying that so badly. So George is Associate Professor at the Cyprus Institute, and he works on immersive and visual environments, urban modelling, and digital simulation for the study of built heritage and the creative exploration of historical narratives. And George and I were talking before we started about how relevant these sorts of topics are to CBRL and our audiences. So today, George is going to give us a talk titled Historical Neighbourhoods and Heritage Sites as Drivers of Change for Resilient Futures, learning from the divided city of Nicosia. And during this talk, heritage is approached as an asset of the contemporary city that becomes an active space of its everyday life. And he'll also be considering models for sustainable management of difficult heritage through the integration of technological innovation, digital humanities, and the engagement with stakeholders. So I will hand over to you, George. I'll switch my camera off, and the floor is yours. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane, for the introduction and, of course, for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here and honored, and I hope you will enjoy the work that I decided to share with you today. So let me share my screen.
Okay, we can see that.
Wonderful. So I will. I thank you for introducing the talk and the title. So I won't, in the interest of time, I won't repeat it. We will start the presentation today with a brief introduction to the history of the city of Nicosia. The capital of Cyprus is located in the center of the island. Excavations revealed Bronze Age relics showing that Nicosia has a very long history. Before the foundation of Nicosia, the city of Lydras existed in the southwest sides of the current city and near the river banks of Pedieos River, close to the area we will be talking about today. Destroyed by Arab raids, the city was rebuilt where the present city of Nicosia is located by Lefkon, son of the Egyptian king Ptolemy I, in 280 BC, and it was named Lefkontheon. Nicosia preserved its importance in Cyprus during the Roman and Byzantine periods and thrived to become an important administrative and business center of the island. The Lusinians bought the island from King Richard I of England in 1191, and they made Nicosia the center of their sovereignty on the island. On developing the city, they built a city fortified with towers and having 5 gates with drawbridges. Churches and a cathedral forming, I hope I got a message that I'm breaking up. I hope that you can hear me properly. So there were several churches and a cathedral built by the Lusinians, which formed the historical fabric of the old city at the time and are still surviving today as important architectural examples of that period. You see on the screen on this slide the egg-like or potato-like shaped walls of the Lusinian city. And what you see in the circle in the red circle is the area we will be presenting today about the area of Paphos Gate, one of the main gates of the city. In this slide, you can see how Padiaos River used to flow through the city. And because of that, this water source was called Aqua de la Cittadella because it passed by the old and actually the second one, fortified palace of the Lusinians, which was once built in approximately the same area where later in 1567 the Gate of St. Dominic was built, widely known today as the Paphos Gate. The water of the citadel also passed by the monastery of St. Dominic, which was located in the same area before being demolished by the Venetians due to the new fortification works that we will talk about in the next slide. Here was the royal monastery, which was called like this because it was used by the kings to isolate themselves and pray. And also in the same monastery, there was the royal cemetery. And part of this compound was what is called today, that remains standing in the fabric of the city, the Castelliotissa Hall, which was later used as a female convent, and it lies, as I mentioned, in the area of our studies. Now, during the Venetian period, which started in 1489, Nicosia was chosen again to be the capital city of the island. The Venetians demolished numerous Lusinian buildings and the walls to make the city smaller in order to make it easier to defend it against the Ottoman Empire that was soon going to be attacking the country. In 1567, they sent their best engineer in fortifications, Georgios Artopoulos, to build new city walls of 4,800 meters in circumference with 3 gates, one of which is the Paphos Gate. When under Venetian control, Cyprus became a most important port for the Venetian galleys and was the center of their trading in the east. Nicosia was the administrative center and the seat of the Venetian governor. Here we see the Frankish walls that pre-existed overlapping the Venetian walls in a digital time machine for the city. In this visualization, in this slide, you see the 11 heart-shaped bastions and the diversion of the Pediaos River away from the core of the city, but close to the Paphos gates, as you can see here, because they needed the water to fill in the moat around the walls. Julius Savonian, who built the walls, designed an 80-meter wide moat as a clear flat space to expose anyone who would try to approach the city walls under the canonical design rule at the time for medieval fortifications. And after the city was seized and fell, Savonian returned to Italy to act as an advisor in the construction of the city of Palmanova, which is a prime example of star-shaped fort of the late Renaissance and was built in 1593. The city survived through the Ottoman period, and here you can see a view of Nicosia and its Gothic cathedral surrounded by mud brick houses until in 1878, the British bought the island from the Ottomans. George Jeffrey, who acted as the curator of ancient monuments in the Department of Antiquities, the newly established Department of Antiquities by the British, promoted the heritage value of the walls and managed to convince the government back in London to support his cause with the necessary funds to reconstruct them in order to highlight and illustrate their central role in the history of the city. Significantly, since then, the Venetian walls, as they are neither Ottoman nor Hellenic in origin, they have been promoted as heritage by both communities, the Turkish Cypriot and the Greek Cypriots, who have been able to agree upon in treating them as their common built heritage. As many of you may know, Nicosia is a divided city. Now let's move our lens closer to our site of study, and let's walk together through the historical, the chronological transformations of the Paphos Gates area. Now, as I mentioned, this was where one of the three gates of the medieval walls existed, and after the British arrived in the island, they needed to open up the medieval core of the city to motorized means in order for the city to be able to develop. So what they did was they demolished part of the walls next to the gate in order to create a street. Also, the walls that we see today, and we will be talking about them later on, they are like the result of additions by different actors in different periods of time. So when they were first designed and constructed by Savonian, they were covered in soil in order for the structure to withstand the cannonballs. Later on, when the city fell to the Ottomans didn't really pay any attention to preserving the walls, so they were in a very bad state when the British arrived, who invested a lot in reconstructing them. So what we see today is actually three layers of additions. And of course, these buildings that exist today were like later additions by the Ottomans and then the British. And I will explain later on about I will come back to this later on. What you see here is the Paphos Gate and its proximity to the diverted the moat in front of Paphos Gate. We have this plain, which is like with a relative, which is relatively inclined, that is currently occupied, and since then has been used as the public garden of the city. And we will walk down these roads towards the Paphos Gate so that you get a sense of how this space is today. You can see here this short clip of how one approaches the gates. So as I mentioned, this is a highly complex area in terms of its history and its architectural traces. So one can find like a very dense historical palimpsest and with very important remains. So besides the gate itself and the structures on top of the walls that I mentioned, we have the Catholic Church of Nicosia, which lies in the buffer zone. By red is you can see this contour is the buffer zone. Marked as number 5 is the Castello de Sahov that I mentioned, which used to be part of the Lusinian palace here, the complex in the area. And there are several also other structures that we will be seeing soon. Another important aspect about the history of this area, of this neighborhood, is its multicultural demographics. So as you can see here, before the war, they're still they lived there like comparative percentages of Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots and actually Maronites. And this area is very close to the Arab Ahmed, which was like the Armenian neighborhoods. And it is still until today, even though, or actually exactly because it was a border area, a border neighborhood next to the buffer zone, it has been left abandoned and kind of forgotten, and it is by the Greek Cypriots who wanted to move away from the buffer zone in order to forget of the trauma of the war, and was therefore left empty to be occupied and inhabited by migrant communities or families with migratory background. And also because of that reason, we have several very important NGOs in the area that are supporting the local communities. Some of the important architectural spatial assets of the area includes the Spitfire coffee shop, which used to be the place where the UN soldiers would hang around during even before the war and the division, during the first steps, the first stages of conflict between the two communities, which actually rendered this area into a checkpoint that was controlled by the UN between the neighborhoods that were populated by Greek Cypriots and those inhabited by Turkish Cypriots. You can also see the Catholic Church that I mentioned earlier, and you can see here the accelerated rate with which we are losing these important places for the history of these neighborhoods, such as these complex of buildings that the Spitfire was located. So you can see actually between these images, you can compare the degree of loss because of abandonment of this building. Actually is part of the buffer zone, so it is not easily accessible by either community to be preserved. And another very important spatial or I would say socio-spatial characteristic of this site is the walls and the thickness of the buffer zone because of the walls. Actually, this is like, and it used to be until the opening of the checkpoints back in 2003. It used to be probably the only area where Turkish Cypriots would come so close to Greek Cypriots, and they could even have like a direct visual communication. You can see here the buffer zone like projected on the map of Nicosia, and this is our area that we are talking about today, the Catholic Church, the archaeological site, Castelliotissa, and this is where the buffer zone starts from this side of the road, which is actually, as you can see here, an area that is, even though it is accessible through the small narrow streets of the old city, it's always like one is facing this border as they would walk around. This is also very important aspect of this area, that this was the start or the end of a very important street, which is called Victoria Road, that leads to the Armenian monastery and the Armenian neighborhoods, as well as this on this side. This is as you can see here, the barrels like prevent access to the buffer zone, but we have on one side on the left the Paphos gate from the inside, then the Catholic Church. Next to it, not surprisingly, is the embassy of the Vatican. And you can see here the barrels blocking the street. This is a very important street because actually it leads to Hermes Street, which was the most famous and important commercial streets since the medieval times, streets of the city since the medieval times. And you can see also the abandonment, the condition of it now that is actually locked in the buffer zone, these very important streets. Interestingly, again, conceptually, I find it a very interesting concept, is that this street was built on top of the riverbed that was crossing the city. So you can see here the riverbed of Pedios crossing the city in Lusinian times. When it was like the river was diverted by the Venetians, then this riverbed was filled up and was used as the main road of the city, and it became therefore the main commercial road, which means that actually it was like the place where the different communities would meet and would interact and would communicate by exchanging products and trading. So it became like an interface, and this very place is actually now inaccessible and occupied by nature, because it is the main part of the buffer zone that crosses the city. So it's like as if this was returned back to nature. Going back to our sites, I will show you very briefly how does it feel like walking there. So this is on our right is the Spitfire, what remains of the Spitfire. This is the interior inside of the Paphos gate, the tunnel, and these on the side, these two corridors used to be ramps for them. So yeah, what I was saying is that actually this is a photographic documentation of how the British started demolishing the army barracks that the Ottomans had built on top of the walls in the area of Paphos Gates in order to create larger spaces for them to host the police headquarters. So the British installed the police headquarters for the old city, reusing on top of the gate, reusing some of the structures that the Ottomans had built for their army barracks and extending them. Also, the British, and you can see here the evolution, the change in the urbanized area outside of the city and the road network. They changed the way that one would approach want to enter or exit the city. Importantly, again, the outside of the Paphos Gate, there was the area of the tanneries, which were then completely demolished and removed. And up this street, this way is the archaeological museum of the city. You can see here how in the is intervened, and now you can clearly see the structures they built on top of the gate in order to house the police headquarters, or also museum of here the quote of Polina Christofi, our collaborator in the Department of Antiquities. This was exciting time for them, for us, for everyone back in 2013 when they managed to get structural funds from the European Union and support from the municipality to actually start digging and revealing, unearthing the history of this site and the moat in particular, because as a historical city, obviously it is built on top of many layers, as we said, and it is therefore impossible for anyone to be able to have a lot of many opportunities and access to the lower layers and levels of the city. So it was very exciting moment for us. And you can see here some photos of the excavation with important artifacts unearthed in this site that is actually surrounded by the street network or the car street network of the city. Initially, it is important to mention that the management plan for the site was focused on developing like a typical approach, implementing a typical approach, developing like a working platform that would allow the visitor to, mostly addressing tourists, to observe the site from above with implementation of like a fencing system all around the sites. But as this was such an important urban setting for us, like it was important to to come up with a different approach to the management plan. So instead of having like a balcony here that would allow people to observe the site from above, we started wondering how we could do something better. And this was important because because of the significance of the finds that were discovered, important archaeological remains of Ottoman water channels for irrigation, because for a long time the moat was used during Ottoman times for cultivation. Of course, 3 layers of gobbled flooring, the Venetian one, the Ottoman one, and British interventions on it, as well as the bridge that would allow the water to flow in the moat from Pedios when it would reach the site, as well as what I mentioned earlier, the original foundations, the first foundations of the walls. Here you can see what I was talking about earlier. This was like I'm sorry. This was part of the original Venetian structure. Then the Ottomans continued to keep it like covered with soil and some further additions. And what you see on top is actually the British reconstruction. Other important finds include spolia, architectural artifacts, and carved stones that were in secondary use, obviously taken from Lusinian structures and buildings of the 14th to 16th century, as well as a cannonball, which was like the proof of the siege that took place before the city fell to my point was that this very rich historical background it would have been like very almost impossible, next to impossible, to really enable visitors of the city, but also the citizens themselves, to really appreciate and relate to this very complex history by simply providing them access as an observation deck through an observation deck from above. So, and actually, one can appreciate better that if we look at the car street network around that surrounds the sites, and also how difficult it is for a pedestrian to really walk next to the cars with the cars passing by, and to be able to immerse themselves in the history, this very important historical site. So our main aim was to try and convince everyone involved and the stakeholders in changing the design solution for the management plan of this archaeological site, and actually promoting the idea that we needed to come up with ways that would allow people to cross the site and to get closer to all these very important finds that the excavation revealed. So the methodology we followed to address this was actually included various steps. The first one was to conduct archival research and to use the most accurate documentation of the historic city that we had by the time, which was Kitchener's map, to really study the neighborhood as it was in the past and understand its transformation. To combine this with several photos and photographic documentations of how this site used to be, including the Ottoman army barracks and the police headquarters during the British annexation, as well as the fabric, the urban fabric of the city at the time, including also other important spatial infrastructural assets, such as the aqueduct that was reaching the city through next to the Paphos Gate, so through our sites. And to combine that with the results of the 3D documentation of the site, as well as the results of the archaeological excavation and the analysis of the archaeologists involved in the excavation, to accurately reconstruct the site, not only how it is today, but actually how it used to be in the past. So we created like a time machine that lived in a virtual environment. So we went back in time back to 1950s, and even further back when the British arrived in the islands. And you can see here on this map a documentation of all the important points of interest, all the artifacts that were discovered, as well as important assets of the space in terms of architectural structures, as they are marked by the Red Cross. And we run workshops in the context and training events in the context of co-design activities and research activities, where we would involve specialists and experts from with different backgrounds and from different countries, including also representatives of the stakeholders, but also of citizens. And if we were like engaging people that were not familiar with the history of the site, we would go on site to introduce them to all the important aspects of its history. And then we would go back to our lab and we would ask them to walk around in the virtual environment and to choose and draw specific paths, itineraries through the site, depending on what they would find interesting. I hope it won't drop now, the connection, but you can see a snippet of the VR interface and what a visitor would see and how they would explore the sites. And as they were doing so, we were able to document their behavior in the virtual environment, meaning where they would stop, how they would walk, what they would look at, and for how long. And through this iterative process, we set up a more dialectic approach, like a co-design approach for the management plan. And together with the participants, we came up with a specific route through the site, one that would allow them to, that would offer them a rich and interesting experience that would, though, be short enough even for the citizens and the passers-by to prefer to walk through the tunnel and the archaeological site rather than next to the cars. And actually, we managed to not only bring visitor to the site closer to the antiquities. As an intervention in a public space, it has, for example, the inclination of this ramp must comply with the regulation for the people with for providing access to people with disabilities and wheelchairs. So if we had like such kind of a straight line platform in parallel to the entrance to the tunnel, as you can see in the bottom of the slide, this would obstruct completely the antiquities for viewing from most of the area around the site. Whereas in the waypoint, allow for more interesting views and visual optical access to what the excavation unearthed. And you can see here the view of above how was the so through this the comprehensive presentation of this methodology, all the stakeholders involved were convinced to invest in constructing this, in actually changing their initial management plans for the site, and instead in investing in the construction of this platform in order to allow everyone to walk into history. I have here another video as well, but I don't know if it will drop the connection. This is like a snippet of the experience in the VR experience in 1879, based on documents, archived material that we found in the State Archive, as compared to the experience of visiting the site today on the left. this reconstruction is based on, and the cannonball that was discovered actually there in that part of the wall. And let me quickly go back to the video and show you the reconstruction of the old city based on Kitchener's map. And of course, using also materials such as postcards. And with this building or in this this neighborhood that was up until recently almost abandoned, and you can this is the last part of the presentation regarding the implementation plan and the site. And we trying to create like a multi-sensorial experience. We used projector lights to project on the walls of the tunnel patterns that were inspired or removed by these stones that you see here on both sides of the tunnel. What are these stones? These are gravestones, actually, Gothic gravestones that the Venetians took from the monastery. If you remember in the beginning of my presentation, when I mentioned the monastery, the royal monastery, we also saw that there was a royal cemetery next to it. So this the argument of the archaeologists is that these gravestones were taken from there, from this cemetery. So what we did, because obviously they were integrated in the wall in a relatively high level, so that someone entering the city on a horse would see them would see the marks from above. They can be like left unnoticed by the visitor today, and therefore by using the projector lights, we wanted to they asked to learn more about this. The state of recognition that this novel approach to management plans of archaeological sites took. Specifically, the special reporter of the United Nations in the field of cultural rights, when she visited Cyprus, she included in her report that she submitted to the General Assembly of the United Nations only this effort as the only effort in the island, which tries to engender what it calls what it is a community participation in the process of regenerating cultural heritage, and also the selection of our methodology by a specialist team as one of the best internationally good practices in public space co-creation through the use of playful interfaces and ICT. We have published extensively on our methodology, and please go online to see our articles if you're interested in learning more about the process that we followed. And obviously, this is not a team of researchers I want to thank. And also with this, I will stop and thank you very much for your attention.
Wow, George, thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic, and so interesting to be able to see such a diverse evolution of an urban landscape, sort of in the deep past, but also in the more recent past. It's really interesting.